Alright, let's talk about numerical data presentation. Right, in the previous video, we are talking about a graphical data presentation where you present your data in a form of graph. Right? Now, for numerical data presentation, as the name state there, you will present your data in a form of number. Okay, I believe that most of us is actually familiar with numerical data presentation, just like in graphical data presentation, and there's only several new things that you're going to learn here. Okay, so what is numerical data presentation? So this is kind of things that we have in numerical data presentation. Okay, so to present your data numerically, okay, there are several things that can be presented, and usually we are going to have all of those numerical data presentation all together. So the kind of numerical data presentation that we have, right, in statistic is this. Right, you have measure of central tendency, MCT. You have measure of dispersion, MD. You have of measure of position, MP. Alright, so these three groups are actually the main groups that that contain several other calculation inside. So for measure of central tendency, right? If you look at this picture, you see that for measure of central tendency, you have mean, median, and mode, right? So you basically need to calculate for mean, median, and mode when you are asked to look for measure of central tendency, which is MCT. Okay, so next we also have measure of dispersion, right? Measure of dispersion consists of range, and you have IQR. We will talk about this more later. Standard deviation and variance, right? So and lastly, we have measure of position, right? Not stated here, but it's actually talk about percentile and quartile. Okay, and we have also Z-score. Okay, so basically, why do we have these three kind of measures when we want to represent our data in the form of number? Okay, so all of these three groups actually represent different information of that particular data. For example, if you calculate for mean, median, and mode, you are actually talking about the center of the data. Okay, so the center of the data. You are not talking about any other thing else. You are just talking about the center of the data. By finding mean, median, or mode, you are actually highlighting the center of the data. Okay, and then we have measure of this dispersion, where you look at the other dimension of the data, which is in terms of its dispersion. In other words, the spreadness of the data. So how is actually the data spread? We know the center of the data from MCT, but how does it actually spread? Whether are they actually far from each other, or are they close to each other? So that is how what you can see from measure of dispersion. So as I said before, a kind of common calculation made in MD is variance and standard deviation. And later you're going to see also we have interquartile range and also as simple as range. Those are the kind of tools that we use in MD. And lastly, we have measure of position. So we have MCT talking about the center of the data. We have dispersion talking about the spreadness of the data. And now we have position. Let's talk about the position of each particular data. So by using MP, we're able to identify, right, where is the position of each particular data, right, with respect to the whole data, right? So that is what measure of position will do. And in measure of position also, later we are going to expand the idea to use the data, the information that we have from a measure of position, which is quartiles, and we are going to develop a box plot. All right. So even so, you need to be afraid of Fred, because you are not going to really measure actually draw a box plot manually. We are also going to try to use the software. But however, you need to know what is actually happening, how can it be created, how they draw it, right? So that is for the overview of numerical data presentation. So in our next video, I'm going to talk in detail on how to calculate for how to find MCT, MD, and MP. Right? So thank you.